All right. Well, let's jump in here. Again, I'm Heather Robinson, and this is my family, Andrew, Abigail, and Luke. That's from our summer camping trip. As you can tell, we are all looking like campers. Again, my daughter is 11, my son is 7, and they give me lots of opportunities to practice my love and logic skills. I've also worked with youth for the last 17 years in my other job. So many of them call me mom. So I feel like I have more than 2 kids. And then lastly, we have 2 canine children. Our golden retrievers, Cooper and Poppy, are 7 and 5, and they basically run the house. So tonight we're going to be talking about what I call turning our words into gold. And what I mean by that is experience our kids and our youth listening for the first time. And I don't know about you, but it is a beautiful day when my kids actually do what I ask them to do. So tonight we're going to talk about how to make your words count in a way that's both loving and direct. And before we talk about turning our words into gold, I want to share with you a few of the basic tenets of love and logic. So first of all, there are these 5 key pillars in love and logic. And the first one is mutual dignity and respect. And the operative word here is mutual. No matter our age, we all deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And sometimes I forget about that with my kids, especially if I'm having a hard day. But it's important that we all treat each other with dignity and respect. The second tenet is shared thinking. The important piece here is that we are standing beside our kids and the problem rather than in between the kids and the problems, or behind our kids and our problems, or in front of them. But instead, we're right there with them in shared thinking, where both our kids and ourselves are thinking together. The third tenet is shared control. It's interesting that if we actually don't get to have any chance to be in control of something, then our desire to be in control will eke out in other ways. Yes. We're going to pause here for just a minute as we welcome another Spanish family and participate in the workshop. So I was at number 3 with shared control, and that is basically where we are sharing control and we're asking questions and involving our kids in the conversation and in the decision making. Sometimes it's easy to just be in the driver's seat and kind of take over, but all humans appreciate being a part of the conversation. Otherwise, we will see that control eke out in other ways, whether that's in passive aggressive ways or even aggressive ways. Our fourth tenet is empathy. And empathy is to be able to offer genuine sadness when something goes wrong for our kiddos or our youth, and especially when a bummer consequence is coming. And I want to encourage you that, for me at least, and for many of the people that I've worked with through the years, this is the toughest skill to master. So don't feel bad if you miss it sometimes. And we will be talking about empathy a little bit in this session and more in the next one. And then our fifth tenet of love and logic is relationship. When our kids are in relationship with us, they really are less likely to rebel or to not listen to us or do things that are dangerous or inappropriate, sure, they will still make bad decisions because they're human and they're growing and they're learning. But the difference is that when they do, they're more likely to come to us and admit that mistake and include us in resolving it rather than not talking with us at all. So now let's jump into learning some skills tonight. And I know for me, when my kids don't listen, I don't know what you call it, but I call it a hassle. It can be frustrating, it can be stressful. And of course, when it happens multiple times a day, we can find ourselves at our wits' end and honestly being someone that we don't want to be. So when we do find ourselves in that hassle where our kids aren't listening and we feel like we're repeating ourselves or we're offering sort of empty threats, what happens is we get into arguments where no one wins. And so first of all, I want to start with 3 skills and a tip that you can experiment to help your kids and youth listen for the first time and no longer have arguments with your kids. And I use the word experiment because that's really the spirit of Love and Logic. Is these are experiments. And the nice thing about experiments is if they go sideways, it was just an experiment. If they go well, great. We're glad the experiment worked. So keep that in mind, because probably the number one thing I've learned so far in my 11 years of being a parent is that I'm still learning. And the best thing I can give my kid is to be a student of them, to grow with them, to keep discovering who they are, how they receive and give communication, how they process things, what their personality type is. And so that's the spirit of experiment, where we're growing with our kids as they grow, and we're also growing as a parent and as a human being. So this first skill is what I call choices. And so you're basically going to give your child a choice when it comes to turning your words into gold. You're going to give your child a choice. This goes back to one of the tenets of Love and Logic, which is shared thinking. So you want to give your child a choice, any of which choice you are happy with. And I recommend not more than 3 choices. But first of all, you don't want to give it, you want to have some boundaries here with the choices. And first of all is to give the choice when things are going well, not when someone is grumpy. And I know for me, I don't make the best choices when I'm upset. But when I'm happy or feeling fine, I tend to be able to make better choices. And that's because I'm in that part of my brain that our executive functions, our prefrontal cortex, it's a mouthful, where I can hopefully make good choices because I'm not upset. And so we want to give choices to our kids or youth when things are going well. And then here's a couple examples is, would you like to watch shows for 30 minutes or 60 minutes? Would you like to clean your room now or after dinner? Would you like to mow the lawn on Saturday or Sunday? So these are all choices that you're happy with, that I'm happy with. As I gave those choices, I felt good about them. I'm okay with either choice. But the key here is we're sharing thinking, and our kids or youth, they get to decide, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes, or I'm going to clean my room after dinner. I'm going to mow the lawn on Sunday afternoon. They get to be a part of that, and they're buying into that option. And feel free to ask questions at any time. I'm watching the chat box, so I know that sometimes this is a lot of information, so I'm happy to stop at any time and answer questions. But otherwise, I'll just keep us moving along here. Our next skill is empathy. And we talked about this as one of the important tenets of love and logic. And empathy here is that when our kids don't listen, that we give an empathetic one-liner followed with a natural consequence. So an empathetic one-liner really is, empathy is the key word. It's someone who's empathetic it's as if what's happening to that person is happening to me. So we try to put ourselves in our kids' shoes or our youth shoes to understand how they're feeling in that moment. But we don't want to engage in an argument. We're just empathizing with how they feel. And this is part of just being in a relationship with each other. So this could sound like this. Oh, this is so sad. And then you share whatever that natural consequence is. For example, screen time is over. Oh, this is so sad. I'm happy to clean your room. Which one of my chores would you like to do? Oh, this is so sad. I'm happy to mow the lawn if the price is right. So this is, rather than, the difference would be me saying, I told you to turn off the TV and it's not turned off now. Screen time is over. Or fine, whatever, I'll clean your room. You know what? Fine, you go clean the kitchen. Or you know what? What are you going to pay me to mow the lawn? Fine, I'll do it. I don't care, whatever. I do everything around here anyway. So I don't know how you felt when I was giving you that opposite example. I didn't feel very good on the inside, but I know that it puts me on the defensive. And that's what can happen with our kids and youth. When we aren't empathetic, then we're putting ourselves in between our kids and the problem, or we're putting our kids on the defensive instead of, first of all, just taking a deep breath. Oh, this is so sad. Screen time is over. That's different than engaging in what could be defenses. So I want to encourage you right now to think of what would be your empathetic one-liner. The key on picking a one-liner is that it's something you can say without sarcasm or anger. So I have a friend who says, oh, this is such a bummer. But I know for me, if I said that, I would say, bummer, dude. So I know that I would be sarcastic with that. For some of you, my one-liner for the most part is, oh, this is so sad. But for some of you, you may not be able to say that without sarcasm or anger. So I want to give you just, 20, 30 seconds to think about what your one-liner might be. And once you've come up with your one-liner, I highly recommend that you practice it. Now, my 11-year-old wouldn't be able to tell you that when she was 2, I had green sticky notes in various places in our house to remind me of what our empathetic one-liner would be. The reason is because when I get upset, I revert to fight, flight, or freeze. That's where I'm gonna, run into my bedroom, or I'm gonna yell, or I'm gonna clam up, whatever it is, whatever my response is. So if I practiced my one-liner and I have it around the house, then it's there for me when I need it. And so I encourage you to practice saying it without sarcasm or anger. Put it up around your house or in your car or both to help remind you to be empathetic. Because as I mentioned when we talked about the tenets, being empathetic is not natural for most people. And so please don't feel bad if you slip up or, if this just takes a lot of work. It really does take a lot of work, but it's worth it. Okay, we're going to go on to our next skill for the evening, our final skill for the evening. And this is what I call enforceable statements. Oh, we have a question. What do you suggest on skill 1 when you give them the choices and they say neither? That is a fabulous question. What I recommend is these are the choices, saying something like, first of all, it depends if it's reasonable. I mean, we can negotiate, certainly. So let's say, for example, I say, would you like to have 30 minutes of screen time or 60? And my kiddo says, I'll take 2 hours. Oh, you are so funny. Which one would you like, 30 or 60? I want 2 hours. Okay, I'll pick for you 30 minutes. I'll set the timer and then you just move on. Now, if they said, 40 minutes, that's reasonable. Sure, 40 minutes sounds good. Do you want the timer set or should I just let you know when 40 minutes is up? Just let me know. Okay. And you can move on. So for me, it depends on what choice they give, whether or not whether or not it's a good one. One other key to that with choices is some kids actually can engage in a bit of a power struggle when it comes to choices. So they might say, 40 minutes. Okay, that's fine. 40 minutes. Oh no, 45. Oh, let's go with 40. I want 46 actually, so, so you're kind of, keep that in mind too. And it depends on each person's personality type, but hopefully it looks like that helps. And you're welcome, Catherine. I'm glad you asked the question. Okay, so enforceable statements, and enforceable really does mean something that you can enforce. Who grew up with "you're grounded for the rest of your life"? Yes, did. Are we still grounded? My parents could not enforce that. Understandable why they would say it to someone as stubborn as myself, but it was not enforceable. So a couple of keys here with enforceable statements. First of all, is to never tell a stubborn child what to do. Instead, tell them what you are willing to do or allow. So why do we never tell a stubborn child what to do? It's because they won't do it because they're stubborn. So if we say, go to your room, they might stand there and dig their heels in. If we say, get over here now, they might move at a snail's pace. So we can't, these are not enforceable statements. Now, when they're 2, can we gently guide them to their room when we ask them to? Yes. But when they're 16, can we still, when we say go to your room and they don't, can we enforce that? Probably not. And so when this is definitely exacerbated when we make statements, like I said, that we can't actually do, like you're grounded for life. So enforceable statements start with a couple of words like you may, or I will, or feel free to. And here's some examples. I allow kids who brush their teeth to enjoy treats instead of brush your teeth. Or I allow video games in the home as long as they aren't causing problems, instead of stop spending all of your time playing video games. And here's another example. My fee for driving kids who miss the bus, or my fee for driving kids who are tardy, is $5 per passenger. Instead of hurry up, we're going to be late. So again, never tell a stubborn child what to do. Instead, tell them what you are willing to do or allow. And I can tell you that this skill right here is one of the most powerful ways to turn your words into gold. And why is that? Because your words matter. Your words can really matter. Me saying you're grounded for life, those words aren't gold because I really can't ground my children for life. But me saying I allow my kids who brush their teeth to enjoy treats, and let's say they don't choose to brush their teeth, then the next night when we're having ice cream for dessert, there's my empathetic one-liner. Oh, this is so sad. I allow kids who brush their teeth to enjoy ice cream. They begin to make those connections, and it is something I can do or not do. I want to give you a few more examples on this because for me, I grew up with one of my parents who just barked all the orders, and another parent who really didn't say very much at all. So, except in the passive ways when you were suddenly being ignored, the silent treatment for something you had done wrong, but you weren't really sure what you did wrong. So enforceable statements did not come easy to me. I tend to be more like my sort of drill sergeant parent, where I just give out the orders. So I had a learning curve with this, and maybe you will too. So I wanted to give one more tip about this. I mentioned 3 skills and a tip. So I'll give the tip, then I want to give a few more examples of enforceable statements. My tip is never, never, never remind. Your kids and your youth will always come to need at least the same number of warnings and reminders as you give them. And so don't remind. And that's hard to do. Sometimes you have to bite your tongue, or you have to, tell yourself that it's going to be worth it to not remind them. Why? Because when they're not reminded and they don't do what they said they were going to do, or they make a choice that you're not happy with, but it's the choice that they made, then when that natural consequence comes along, they learn it rather than you or me barking it at them. And this will directly impact their growing abilities to listen the first time. Let me give you a few more examples of our enforceable statements. I give desserts to kids who finish their dinner. I was planning to spend $50 on your shoes. If you can come up with the other 200, you may have the ones you're asking for. You may drive the car when you've made a deposit equal to the insurance deductible in our checking account. I'll read to you as long as none of your fingers are in your nose. You may keep the toys you pick up. Thanks for letting me know that you watch rated R movies at your mom's. We are different here. We allow G-rated. Dinner is served until 7 p.m. You may want to eat enough to hold you until breakfast. You may get online as long as I'm around to supervise. I call the police when I find drugs in my home. Now, let's say so here's our enforceable statements. I give dessert to kids who finish their dinners. Our kiddos, maybe one of your kids, they don't finish dessert. Now cookies are coming out and your kiddo's reaching for a cookie. Now you've got your empathetic one-liner. Oh, buddy, this is so sad. I give cookies to kids who finish their dinner. And they get to begin to develop that internal control system that says, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't finish my dinner. As opposed to, you don't get dessert because you didn't finish your dinner. That's different than them getting to shared thinking, shared control. They're thinking about what just took place and how it impacts their life. So here's again our tip with our skills. Never, never, never remind. And why is that? Because our kids and our youth are so smart, and they will come to need the same number of warnings and reminders that we're willing to give them. So just don't remind and trust that they're learning. I want to just open it up for questions. just make sure, see if anyone has any questions. While you're thinking about any questions that you have, I'll just do a quick review of our skills. So skill number 1 is to give your child a choice, any of which you're happy with. Remember to give those choices when things are going well, not when we're grumpy, or us or them. Skill number 2 is to give an empathetic one-liner followed with a natural consequence. Skill number 3 is to only say statements that are enforceable. Remember, those can start with I will, or I allow, or feel free to. And then our tip is to never, never, never remind. Here's something I just love to share that brings the words love and logic together. Taken straight from the Love and Logic creators. It takes a great amount of love to set limits and allow our kids to experience the consequences of their poor decisions. When we do this, they learn the following logic. Every choice I make has consequences. Life is better when I make good ones. I will never forget when my 5-year, at the time she was 5, talking to my little 2-year-old who was in the high chair having quite a fit he was upset that his food was off of his tray because he had thrown all of his food on the floor. And mom was saying, oh, lunchtime is over. And he was rather upset about that, even though he was the one that had chucked it all to the side. The dogs then got to enjoy lunch. And I will never forget my daughter saying to my son, Lukey, life is better when you make good choices. And you know, that's one thing about Love and Logic is you will start to hear your kids using it on their siblings or even on you. So be prepared. Let me just see if there's any other questions. Okay. Questions. Oh, is that questions? Sometimes that, oh, look. See if Alicia has a question. Hi. Hi to your kiddo. So our next session is going to be on Tuesday, January 11th. It's one of my most favorite sessions, which is called No One Wins a Power Struggle. So we're going to talk about how to stay out of power struggles with our kids and youth. Same day as in Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m., same link. And if you have any questions about any parenting, whether we talked about it tonight or some other question, I'm happy to consult on those. And of course, free of charge, just to clarify. But there's my email, strongliving34@gmail.com. And I want to just make sure or see if from Karina, if any of our Spanish speaking families have questions. Nope. Okay. Okay. You're awesome. And I just want you all to know that sometimes parenting can be hard and it can be tiring. And sometimes we forget that we're awesome too. So I just want to encourage you. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. I wrote it down.
Great.
I was just asking, why don't we remind?
Typically because our kids will take as many reminders as we give them. So if we want to teach them to listen the first time, then we only ask them the first time. Okay. And then we have our empathetic one-liner and natural consequence when they don't listen the first time. Does that make sense?
Yep. I was writing it down and I'm like, I didn't get an answer for that. And I heard you kept saying it, but it did not enter my brain, I guess.
No problem. Great question.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Well, you guys are awesome, and I look forward to seeing you on January 11th. Feel free to let other people know to join us. And yeah, oh yeah, and yeah, Pam is saying we can hang out here for a few minutes if you have any other questions. Otherwise, you're free to go. And I just want to wish you all very happy holidays, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year.